An update this morning on an ongoing CBC News investigation into that man, a veteran hockey coach who was fired by an Ontario Junior A hockey team last month. Bernie Lynch let go by the Fort Francis Lakers for sending dozens of inappropriate texts and emails to one of his players. CBC News has learned he is under police investigation in two other provinces, Saskatchewan and Alberta. It is our senior investigative reporter, Jonathan Gatehouse, who has been on the story from the outset, checking in as he learned new developments, and this is a significant one this morning. Jonathan, these police investigations in those two provinces, what have you now learned?
Well, Heather, Regina police won't officially comment, but CBC News has learned that the force has reopened a 1997 investigation we have reported on previously, one that looked into allegations that Bernie Lynch had an improper relationship with a young player. Now, no charges were laid at the time, but we've learned that very recently a former player came forward to police with an allegation of sexual assault. The other investigation is in Edson, Alberta, where the RCMP have confirmed that they're investigating Lynch. They're following up on complaints by parents and players about abusive behavior during Lynch's time as the head coach of the Edson Arrows. Now, many of these families had begged the Western States Hockey League and the team to look into their concerns and fears, including the fact that there was a particular player who was spending up to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week alone with Lynch, often at his house. And there was, at the time, no apparent follow-up. Lynch continued behind the bench until the end of the COVID-shortened season in 2020, and then went on to a new job in Fort Francis, where, as you mentioned, he was fired last month after having been suspended in early January.
Also, Jonathan, understanding that some parents had concerns about Bernie Lynch's behavior in Sweden as well. Now, on that point, what have you learned?
Well, yesterday, a national daily newspaper in Sweden, Expressen, published an article about Lynch's time as a coach in Huddinge, which is outside of Stockholm. Now, Lynch spent the better part of a decade coaching youth teams in Europe before he came back to Canada in 2017. The Swedish article talks about concerns that a mother raised about an incident in 2014 where her 15-year-old son was allegedly sent a text by Lynch that reportedly referenced masturbation. She complained to the team at the time about it. Lynch was ultimately let go from that job over concerns about his harsh language and his behavior towards players and referees. That's similar to concerns that have been raised and that we've heard about teams in Fort Francis and Edson.
And Bernie Lynch himself, Jonathan, does he have anything to say at this point in your investigation?
Well, CBC News did reach out to Lynch and he declined an interview, but he said in an email to us that he knows nothing about these police investigations and that he is shocked by all of the allegations that have surfaced over the past 6 weeks. He says it's part of a smear campaign against him. And the Swedish journalists say that they, too, tried to reach out to Lynch about the allegations in Huddinge, but he did not respond.
Jonathan, thank you very much, and certainly come back as you continue with this